All right, hi everybody. Something a bit different today. We're going to do a bit of a, not a race recap, just an opening stint commentary here retroactively. All right, hey everybody. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to do something kind of different. We're going to do a race start commentary retrospectively. So yesterday, I'm recording this on Sunday, the 24th of March. Yesterday, the 23rd, Bryce and I teamed up and ran the 12 Hours of Sebring, the very first ever rain endurance race. And we had, first off, a ton of fun. Massive props to iRacing for putting out an amazing update. Rain is incredible. It works like a boss. I'm a huge fan. Oh, let me turn on my camera. There we go. I'm a huge fan. Big fan of the update. Really good job to iRacing. Now, Bryce and I, we practiced. We did. We thought we were ready. This race threw us some curveballs. And spoiler alert, we finished where we started in P12. So not as good as we were hoping, but we had a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun. Now, I thought we would commentate this opening stint just because it was really interesting. So the forecast said that it should start raining about 45 minutes into the race. But as I was qualifying, it started raining. And so Bryce and I made the last second decision to switch over to wet tires for the race start. And so you see us here puttering around in the formation lap on wet tires and realizing immediately, wow, that's the right choice. We had done a lot of practice in the rain and knew how quickly it degrades from dry to kind of not dry to very wet, um, and how bad the visibility gets as well. And so decided we wanted to start on wet tires for sure. And here you can see, even at the formation lap, that that was absolutely the right choice. Now, to commentate to comment on to where I was mentally at this moment, I was really nervous. I've started a lot of these endurance races, and I'm always nervous, right? I think that's one of the nice things about NASCAR. Excuse me, about iRacing is that it feels realish, right? It feels so real in your heart and in your mind that you're going to be nervous going into an endurance race, right? You've got your team counting on you to do a good job. You've practiced a bunch. You've put in a bunch of hours. Like you're ready for this. But you add this element of rain uh, to it, and it just wow, it added so much. So not only is it interclass, how's the race going to go, but it's intra-class, that is, my class. But it's also how's it going to work with the traffic, with coming through, GTP and LMP2s. So right here during Jean Damien, the green flag goes. You can see here that it's green now, and already the visibility is low, and already people are spinning. So I'm down to first, right where I don't want to be, and I'm gassing it up like a boss. And heading down Elman Straight here to get to Sunset for the first time, and there's no sun to set. You can't see jack. Look at this, it's crazy. Like, and I'm gonna be super cautious, right? My style in this sort of racing is to be slightly cautious, even though I know that that's going to give up some time, give up some positions. But I would rather undercommit in the first 10 minutes of a race than kill us, right? That's always been my sort of ethos, and I feel like, all right, I gained a couple spots just now, most likely, so I'm going to see how I can do. But All that said, if someone's being aggressive behind me, like this Audi, I'm going to let them by. I'm just not going to fight so hard so early on. I'm going to let people by. So you'll see me early on here. I think I rose to 9th or 10th, and then I started giving up spots. I can't remember what I fell back to, but in the early going, I started intentionally not fighting against people and thinking I'm going to take care of my stuff. I'm not going to make big stupid mistakes. I'm going to feel out how this rain is progressing. And you can see here again, all that aggression has led to me not losing 2 but only 1 positions there, right? So you know, these guys are crashing around me and I'm seeing that, and I'm just going to be careful. All the while I'm learning how to endurance race in this rain, and you know, between the hydroplaning and the visibility, it's tough. Like, it's really, really hard. So I'm up to 10th here. Again, I'm feeling okay. It's not like I'm falling back from these guys a bunch. Even if I let 1 or 2 of them by, I'm not falling back from them a bunch. I'm just rolling with them. You can see here I'm gaining on them, and I'm intentionally letting off just so I don't run into this Porsche. Whoa! But still feeling out the grip, like the limits of grip in different spots on the track. One of the amazing things iRacing's done is that they've made it really dynamic. Every lap feels a bit different. Every lap feels unique. The puddles are different every single lap. The heat on a given part of track is a bit different. The grip level, how much standing water there is. Did a car just run through that? Did 12 cars just run through that and displace a bunch of water? You know, it's really impressive the way that the track behaves. I think the only thing that's not impressive about this update when it comes to rain is the windshield wiper, the windshield effect itself. Like, it feels like that's all a cartoon and not really having any effect. But the spray and the grip, and they feel legit. This green and gray Audi here, these are guys that we're fighting with the whole race, all the way up to the bitter end. But some good competition in this race, and you'll notice here, outside of that opening couple of melees, that this has gotten pretty clean already, right? People are feeling out their cars, people are racing reasonably. I really expected a lot more spinning, a lot more off-track action, and obviously people are making mistakes. Like you just saw the Audi there, a little off-track, a little off line, but some of that is just searching for grip in the wet, avoiding puddles. Some of that is mistakes, some of that is a combination. And so I was feeling okay. You know, here I am running 11th, started 12th, and I'm just thinking about, it's a 12-hour race. It started in the rain. People are going to die. Don't be one of them who dies. That's all, right? You know, do whatever you can do to be one of the guys who survives the opening few laps. You're going to be pedaling it a bit there. That part of the track gets really slick, really difficult to hold the line. Now, one of the things I learned in practice this week is that the updates to the race track itself affected the curbs quite a lot. And so those curbs, all the way from Tower through Le Mans, I think are all the corner names. We've got the Tower and the Jean Debian area, and then Le Mans, if I remember correctly, is the last corner heading back onto the Yeoman Straight. Like, all of those curbs got an update, and they feel a lot more aggressive on the car. So if you hit one wrong in the dry, it has a real tendency to upset the car, shoot it out wide, and sort of hop it off the ground quite a bit. So it's really difficult, really challenging there. And so I'm being extra cautious on the curves, because in the wet, they're not only more aggressive, but they're also very slippery. And of course, one of the challenges about hopping a curve is that when you land, you've got to grip up and you know, regain traction so that you can get back on your line. And so I'm doing my best to avoid curbs as much as possible. Yeah, in these early goings, and I'm just sort of fighting to make sure that I stay ahead of as many guys as I can. But again, I'm going to compromise and let go of positions. Here we go. Let go of positions that I don't think I can keep without excess risk. And so yes, I'm letting the top 8 or so get away from me. Yes, I just let P11 by, right? I get that, but I just want to play it safe and survive this first rain cycle in a good spot, in a top 10-ish spot. You hear that throttle modulation? These speeds are nuts, right? I mean, I turned a 217 last time, which is one of the best laps on the track, but I turned a 217 last time, and this is a place where I should be running a 201, 202 at the most, right? But the rain, even with the right tires on, and the visibility concerns, look at this. Hard to see your braking zone in the spray. They slow you down 15, sometimes 20 seconds. It's crazy. And it gets worse and worse as the water puddles, as the race track itself becomes less standard, less predictable. It's just worse and worse and worse, and you just don't know what to expect. Here, I'm just looking off to the left for a hint of orange, because that's a cone that I know I need to use to stop at. You know, that's my braking marker, but I can't see my braking marker because this Porsche spray. So, you know, you're just working really hard to try to hit a good line, and it's tough. It's very tough, and you lose time just trying to hit the line. Again, not a bad lap relative to my competition. You can see there in the top left that my 218 is pretty good compared to a lot of these guys, you know, 19s, 20s, and so on. So, I'm sorry, my 21. Oops. I guess that's what I get for looking at the wrong number. Yeah, my 21's actually not that great, is it? But that's a little foreshadowing. I feel like consistency in the wet, I started to show some advantage, where some of these guys rocketed off a little bit faster than I did. Obviously, the top 8 sort of running away from me. My overall ability and pace in the wet was superior to some of the other guys. And we'll start to see that. Here we are in lap 4. We'll start to see that come back to us a little bit. Ran this race in the Lamborghini. Really fun car. We did a cool paint job for it. I'll show it in the thumbnail, and I might show a little TV mixed as well as this onboard shot. But wanted you to get a good idea of what it was like for me starting a race in the rain at Sebring. And I gotta tell you, I've had a lot of fun on iRacing over the years. This may have been the most fun I've had in an opening few minutes. Was figuring the limits of this out, was trying to compete without trying to kill myself, you know. I had a blast. I thought this was great, and I again want to say, if anyone at iRacing ends up watching this, congratulations. Rain is an absolute triumph. It's really good. Good software. Well done. Now, all the while, Bryce is talking to my ear, saying, you know, you're a little faster than this guy, you're a little slower than that guy, you're doing good, it's okay. Are you being conservative, or are they being conservative, right? You know, just talking stuff through. But mainly, I'm just focused out that windshield, and I'm in VR when this is all happening, right? So I'm just totally focused forward, waiting for the GTPs to come through, which they're about to. We're getting really close to that. And that's when things start to really go down. And I don't know if it's all my Camel GT experience or what, but you know, whenever I do modern IMSA, you know, or any other multi-class racing, I feel like if I do have a competitive advantage, it's in multi-class racecraft. Just because I, you know, having run the Audi so much in Camel, I feel like I know how to manage traffic pretty well compared to most. So I'm kind of looking forward to that as a separator, right? And whereas I can catch up to that line in front as well as distance myself from the guys behind, who I've been doing an okay job of, by the way. You know, I'm 40 meters ahead of Phil there, and I'm 200 ahead of Sylvain. So I feel like I've kind of settled into this 11th position and have the ability to get up to 7th or 8th based on pace, because this Porsche, I mean, it's not like Ivan's dropping me, and it's not like the other guys are pulling away. In fact, we're catching 9th and 8th at this point. We're catching that battle. So I'm feeling okay, but I've got the known quantity that, you know, less than a kilometer behind, there's GTPs getting ready to come through. You notice in the top left there on the scoreboard, my 221, it's a competitive lap. It's not the best lap on track, but in traffic here with the visibility as it is, it's respectable. It's faster than some guys, slower than some guys, but it's respectable. I feel okay. I feel like I can compete in the rain better than some, better than most. And so I'm, like at this point, I'm feeling good. Look at that spray. Looking for orange. There's the orange. Just doing my best to not die on exit. I guess I should have zoomed out a little bit there to show more of the wheel, because you're absolutely drifting and counter steering coming out of a sunset in the wet. Like, it's really, really treacherous there. If there's a corner on this track that is the hardest in the wet, especially very wet, it's sunset. But it's also really treacherous in drying conditions, because then you have a particular line that feels very normal and you're on dry tires. And then you got anything barely off that line that is death. And that's one of our accidents. You know, this opening few laps here we're watching are all before a very eventful, which is not what you want to hear, sort of incident-filled race for me and Bryce, where we had quite a few self-errors and a couple of unforced errors, sorry, competition errors. Other guys killing us. But the new damage model allowed the pit crew to fix a bunch of stuff, and we kept going and going and going. So, like I said, we ended up finishing. Oh, I remember that moment. Totally hydroplaned into the corner and almost took out Ivan there. Almost. And that's, again, the track's changing conditions every lap. You can see the puddles getting more aggressive, the standing water getting more aggressive. You know, and so there, going into Cunningham, it was the first time it ever felt like that. And you can see now how this, I remember Bryce saying at this point, wow, it's just a line of GT3s. And what he means by that is, like, it had gotten kind of spread out. But now we're all kind of under a blanket, and that we're all nose to tail, that is, you know. Ivan and I have caught up to the top 9. And now it's anybody's game to go in there and take positions. The field is starting to sort itself out, and so I'm feeling good. You know, I've caught up to the field, along with Ivan here, but I've caught up to the field. And so I'm thinking, if I can just stay steady and true, that I will, you know, stay out of trouble, not make any silly mistakes, that I can race up there and be competing in the top 5. Feeling all right. Again, just managing visibility. I decided here, yeah, I remember this, to try a diamond approach, stay out of the standing water, and do a late apex. It was working for me in practice quite a bit. You can see me here braking offline to the left, trying to get out of the standing water, trying to get off of the rubbered end lines from practice. The rubber is very slippery. Any paint is very slippery, and so I'm just doing my best to stay slightly offline and break into these corners, especially here to the hairpin. The right side, center right, is way, way, way better. All right, now craziness begins. You'll see the first GTP go by, and I get stuck in that puddle. I lose a little bit of ground there, but I'm like, all right, no worries. He's about to take a bunch of room, bunch of ground away from these guys. And I don't mind a little bit of distance while he's working his way through the most treacherous part of the track, which is this complex here after Cunningham. And oh yeah, I forgot about that. This whole time, this Mercedes, Phil here, had been haunting me. Throwing it in there, showing his nose, mini dive bombs and all that stuff. And I'm like, God, I want to let this guy by, or I want him to crash. Like, one of those two things just had to happen. Because we were going to die. And so when that GTP held me up and he finally got alongside, I did not fight. I was like, sure, you can have P12, go for it. It's yours. Because again, I feel okay about my pace. I really do. And I don't feel the need to be hyper aggressive at this point. We're all in the same region here. There's not a massive gap even from first. So I'm feeling okay. Go. How's that for visibility? Just trying to find a little spot where I can see what the hell's going on. At the same time, you can't see it here, but my mirror is just full of GTPs, right? I'm just trying to let these guys by. Oh my God, can't see nothing. Only going into one of the fastest race corners on the racetrack, and I couldn't see anything. What an amazing time. I was grinning ear to ear, having a good time with this. You can barely see some brake lights up there. I'm still right on these guys. So, you know, I feel like I'm managing traffic okay. And, I mean, so are these guys. Like, it was a good crowd. But I felt like I was managing traffic okay and working my way through. And just doing my best to put myself in good spots. Now, remember what I said about curbs earlier. You know, if you get onto a wet curb, the grip's just gone. Like, there's no grip whatsoever. This curb's an example of it. Bryce had a little spin here later in the race. The exit curve there that you're used to going over is also challenging, but look at all the spray. Look at all the spray. Can't see nothing. Just doing my best, man. Oh man, like I remember this real time. This is the first time I've watched it back. I remember this real time thinking, wow, I'm just surviving here. That's all I'm doing is surviving. But then here comes Dirk Chocolate. This is the one that does it, I think. I'm looking at my mirror, and we're going to look at this from a couple different perspectives. All right, you hear that hit, double hit, and then boom into that tire barrier, which did the job. So that gave me wheel damage and put us a few laps down. Spoiler alert, Bryce and I finished where we started, P12. I think we had, based on dry pace and stuff, I think we had a top 5 car. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. You end up having bad luck, and someone takes you out, or you take yourself out, or whatever. You make a mistake. So let's look at this from a couple points of view, because I want to get your feedback in the comments. I'm very intentionally putting this out there. I'm going to back it up to where you can see the in-car mirror, and we can narrate this a little bit more again. All right, so here we're coming into Cunningham. You can see that it's just a gaggle of a mess, and I've got this LMP2 coming through, and I see another LMP2 in my mirror. I'm gonna let him by. And of course, I'm looking at my relative. You know, I'm realizing that I've got another P1 coming up, but in this car, any prototype's a prototype, right? It doesn't really matter. They don't behave that differently. So let's talk about this. All right, at this moment, I'm going to back up to where I'm coming out of tower and heading down toward the double left. So you can see here I've got an Acura LMP, and I see that it's a, sorry, not an LMP, a GTP coming through. And I can see that it's a GTP, but again, it doesn't really matter. Their difference in acceleration versus my GT3 isn't super substantial. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to stay left and let him by on the right, and then sneak in behind him so that I can take this corner without hitting the curb. Very interesting. Now listen to my throttle. Totally off the throttle there. Now, why was I off the throttle? Well, I was off the throttle because I know from my practice that if I hit that curb, it upsets the car. If I hit it under full power, it'll simply spin the car around in the wet. And so I don't want to hit that curb. When I realize I have to hit that curb because he's there, like I was expecting him to get by me when I lift off. Listen to when I lift. Off. I wanted him to go by me. And the fact that he didn't, um, made me hit that curb. And you can see the second I hit the curb, it launches my car off to the right. So what I think happens there, I'll back it up and we'll go in slow-mo up close. What I think's going on here is that when the tires hit the curb, that I'm getting slightly, like the left tires are off the ground, the right tires are minimal contact patch. And then once it lands, all four tires are trying to gain grip. But of course, the track is completely wet and there's not a lot of grip to be found. And so I slide into this guy. So I think what I'm hoping is that he's given me a little extra room because of the wet. He hasn't. He's taken a standard racing line. And so I go spinning about. But I think that's what happened. He pinched me in, and I hit the curb. He didn't understand. I'm not saying it was malice. He didn't understand what was going to happen to my car. But he pinched me to the left more than I needed it to be at that given moment. So tell me what could have happened differently, right? I let off the gas quite a bit. I did not tap the brake. You'll notice no brake lights. And that's measured, right? Let's look at the visibility of the guy behind me. This is what I was thinking about, or the people behind me here. So we'll go in here to this guy's point of view. What I'm thinking about is I can't hit the brakes in the racing line. What's going on behind me? And sure enough, I mean, I feel horrible for this guy whose race got destroyed because of an accident I was in. Man, I feel bad about that. But you get the idea, right? The reason I did not want to hit the brakes was because of this level of visibility. You see what happened to his car? Look at that. He hit this curb. Watch what his wheel does. See how he juked to the right. He did that, which is what I needed to do. Let's go back and look at my wheel again. See, I even stayed all the way to the left. I didn't even allow it to go to the right. I didn't even try to catch it because I knew there was a car to the outside of me. I needed that extra room, just like that Audi did. And that just absolutely killed us. So see, no malice on either of our part. I hate that happened to this GT2 LMP2 car. But I had to tow, and that put us about 12 minutes behind. We lost a couple laps, obviously, and we ended up going on to finish 12th. Like, we just sort of recovery ran for most of the race. Ended up finishing 12th. So disappointing, but still a ton of fun. Like, Bryce and I the whole time were talking about how we were having a lot of fun, even though we were having a bad race. We're having a lot of fun, and I just want to again say congratulations to iRacing. If it isn't clear on the screen right now, this is an epic release. What an amazing job with rain. Really, really awesome, and I'm excited about it. So I'm looking forward to the next endurance race on iRacing and seeing how we do. I could do a blooper reel for the rest of this race, but it would just make me feel bad every time I go back and look at it, because I think let me think, between that crash of mine, let's see, and then Bryce got in and ran a double, and I want to see he had two major incidents during that double, and then I had a almost perfect double, and then coming out of the Le Mans corner, I I spun, just completely lost the rear end and spun and got whammied by an LMP2. And then in Bryce's next stint, I think it was, he caught the wet line in Sunset and just drove right into the wall and had to crab it sideways into the pits. So we were in the pits for damage too many times, and while we had a top five pace between the two of us, we just made too many mistakes in the wet and not in the wet. The thing that ended the whole race was me throwing it into the wall at incredible speed after really finding my speed. It was coming up on Sunset, and boy, I was turning in some laps. I was chasing down the guy in 11th and was feeling okay. Like I was, and then I was just maybe overconfident, maybe reckless. I don't know. But going through turn one, the rear end got a tad loose. I went to correct it, and it just threw it into the wall at 800 miles an hour, and we called it a day because we couldn't lose any more spots. We weren't likely to gain any more spots with just a couple hours left, and we decided to call it a day. So sad that's the way they ended, but I love Sebring, and I love this rain. I think it's an amazing. Look at this. Look at these visuals. I think it's pretty amazing. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below, what should/could have I have done differently to avoid that accident. To me, maybe biased because I was in the chair, but even now watching it back, I don't feel like I could have done anything differently except for hit the brakes in the racing line with given the visibility behind me, right? Given the what people behind me could see. In that moment when making that split decision, I was thinking about the visibility of the guys behind me, and I didn't think it was the right call. So let me know what you think. Was it the wrong call? We'll watch it from this perspective too. A little TV mixed. But let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you enjoy iRacing and sim racing, you know, and flight simming content, you know, give me a subscribe. Let me know that you like what we're working on here. Oh, look at that. God, those graphics. For such an old engine, they've done such a good job. How many times have you watched a race at COTA or Circuit of the America, same thing, or VIR, or here, or Le Mans, and seeing that sort of visibility problems? Like, go right now and Google or do a YouTube search for Ford GT rain Sebring, and you'll see how accurate this is. There's a whole onboard sequence, you know, a whole section of the race from a couple of years ago where the Ford GT was, you know, they were recording, you know, in-car footage during rain like this, and boy, it looks like this. It feels like this. If I'm reacting to my own footage, is that still reaction content? Am I part of the problem on YouTube? Or do I just like looking at my own paint jobs? Look at all that spray. God, it's crazy seeing it from this perspective. I have not watched any of this back before now. So seeing this from this perspective is nuts. Can't even see my car there. Completely obscured. All you did was hear my car. And because it's a Lamborghini, I can see that, oh, there it is. All the headlights. All the headlights. I did the bumper cam kind of specifically for this reason. Not bumper cam. The endurance headlight setup. for this reason, because I knew we'd be in the rain and I wanted to have this view. Here's the guy who kills me. The Acura of Doom. No! Over the curb. You see, it just shoots me right to the right. Oh, so sad. I hate that I killed this guy. That hurts my soul. Anyway, I hope that maybe I get some good advice out of the comments. I hope so. It was a lot of fun. I loved it. I had a great time the whole race, but wish that we had not had that early incident, you know, and been able to run our pace. Who knows how the race might have finished up? We might have had that top 5 that I thought we deserved. So thanks for watching. Take it easy.